Hi, it's Bev Code. I've been doing a lot of brag books, and I have also been doing explosion boxes, and they both are made using waterfalls. They are not that hard to do, but if you have done them before, then it's called easy. Has a few little tips and curves that you will be wanting to know so that they work out perfectly every time. Like I said, they aren't that hard, but it's until you do your first one. And there's a lot of videos out there, and some are better than others. So I just thought I would share what I've been doing. And it's just the basics that I'm going to share with you today on what we call a waterfall. Waterfalls can be done directly into your brag books, or they can be done on a base cardstock and then applied and then put into the books. That is probably the easiest that I have found at this point. Then if you make any mistakes, you're not ripping out or wrecking the main core of your project that you are working on. So I've cut this one a little bit bigger than what my actual pages for my waterfall are. The ones I'm using today are cut so that I can have some fabulous vertical 4x6 photos on this one. And basically what you do is you make sure you leave a bit of an edge for your photo, and up top for the actual waterfall we are going to be scoring them at a 1/2 inch. So for those that have scoring boards, that's great. Get them out and take the shorter side here, and I'm going to have a front and a back side. So on the back side I am going to be scoring with my cut board, my trimmer, which I have with me all the time, and then you just need the tool. So at 1/2 inch here I'm going to score and set aside. I'm only doing a few for you, but like I said, if you have a scoreboard, get it out and use it. If not, get your trimmer and just use a scoring tool. Make sure that they are at the 1/2 inch. And if there's a right and wrong side, then do it on the wrong side. After this is done, we then are going to fold down this section, and we are going to firmly burnish the edge of each of them. When you are doing waterfalls, you will be using different length backgrounds depending on the size of the brag book that you're using. They also will depend how far you're spacing apart your actual inserts as to how many that you will be able to put on your project. I have a very long base compared to these, and I am hoping to get anywhere between 11, 12, or 13 of the waterfalls. The main thing to remember when you're doing these, we are going to be putting the glue on the fold over section of the 1/2, and the first one I am going to center on my base and just leave a very little space, and you want to make sure then that it's fairly equal on both of the sides of the base. So if you have score tape, this one is actually too wide for what I'm working on, but if you have the proper size score tape and or liquid glue, I do love my liquid glue, so I am going to be using that today. I just apply very close to the edges on these so that everything stays intact. I just opened this one, so I'm being a little slower so it doesn't come out way too fast. And you can brush some of it off. This is my favorite glue. Like I said, you're going to take the glue section and you're going to want to find your center. So there's a bit of base on either side. I want it very close to the top. With the liquid glues, you have a little bit more forgiveness as far as placement because you can slide it just a little bit, where if you're using the tape, once it's down, it's down. Firmly press, and like I said, it's hard to see because it's white on white, but there's just a little bit of extra on either side, and it is running fairly even with the edges, which is the important part. As you can see, we have our ½ inch showing here. That's going to be the important section for when you're putting on your second, third, and fourth, and whatever down the road. Now, if you want to have a flatter waterfall without too much thickness, then they suggest that the second one be put at the very bottom of that ½ inch so that you're not piling up on top of each other. For this specific book, I want to put my piece, this next one, at the halfway mark of the ½ inch. So I am taking just half of that and half underneath so that it is going to build up slightly but not overload. And like I said, we want to firmly adhere each piece. Go as close as you can to the edges. And for my project, I'm not going to go directly underneath. I want to find that halfway mark and be consistent with placing them. The other thing, you want to have your pieces sitting fairly firmly again. And when you have it, like I said, lay it down so that you can make sure your lines are getting fairly straight, and gently push for each. The one thing that I've been doing in between is put each one from previous on top to see that your layers are still aligning as you do each one, because my glue is still loose enough that I can make adjustments. Underneath, if you get a bit of glue down below, it's okay, because the next one is the one that's going to cover the ½ inch mark. If you get any other little glue, there's a glue eraser available for purchase at most stores. I'm going to put 4 layers on this to show you what it looks like with the 4. I won't continue all the way with 12. Today I'm just trying to give you the basics of a simple waterfall. Again, your glued end, and you want to go at the halfway mark of the previous one above. You also want to make sure that you have an edge on both sides. And if things are getting a little crooked, then I would just make sure that when you are putting these in, it's more important to have your finished section here and this a little bit crooked and all of these aligned. Now I'm going to pull just a little. There we go. So that I still have 3 in a row, spaced a little bit, and the sides are still fairly even. And like I said, you want to firmly check each one as you're going. We have one more for this one. Basically, I am working on something specific, so I know what I'm working with and what the base is. This is where at some point I will share the details of this specific brag book. Again, go back that you are putting it roughly at the halfway mark. I'm laying it down now so I can see that it's still straight. It's still at the halfway mark. Oops, sorry there. Push firmly, put the flaps down, and it still looks fairly straight. I'm just going to put a little wiggle on this one, just a little off to the side. There we go. Push firmly. Like I said, if it's a little crooked in here, that's not where the problem will lay. The problem will be is if when all of them are together. So it's still more important that things are perfectly straight as you're laying them down and as you go down to the very bottom. As you can see, I've got 4 done and it only used this much space. It's starting to get a little thicker on the edges, which is fine. This is where, like I said, if you don't like the thickness that you're starting to get, they could have been spaced at the full seam with no overlap, where I'm overlapping half on each one. Firmly make sure that you check each one by one. Like I said, today I'm just sharing the basics of a waterfall. This one's going to hold 4x6 vertical. There's other ways then to do horizontal, and part of that is all dependent on the book that you're making and how it is being laid out and put into a brag book. Those are the details that will change as you are doing different brag books. The waterfall itself doesn't change other than the size that you're using and whether it's vertical or horizontal. Thanks for joining me today. It's Bev Code. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.